Parashar. Welcome to Frontlist Media. My name is Jyotsna Thakaran, media representative of Frontlist Media. So, guys, today we have Arvind Parashar with us. Arvind Parashar is the best-selling author of four romantic thrillers. He's a well-known to have authored the first romantic thriller trilogy named the Messed Up series. Apart from writing, is also an artist, a well-known motivational speaker, and face of many prestigious literacy festivals. And he manages his passion for writing novels along with the working as a vice president in one of the largest corporate firms. So welcome Arvind Parashar. And first of all, congratulations for your book, Not Without a Love. And it is also, garnering a lot of recognition and congratulations. So how are you doing today?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm doing fine. Thanks a lot. All good. Yeah.
Okay. So our audience would like to know who is Arvind Parashar as a real person.
See, I belong to this. I'm a native of Dehradun, capital of Uttarakhand. So I've born and brought up in hills. My whole childhood has been in Dehradun itself.
Okay.
And it's been wonderful, right? To be born and brought up in a landscape like this, amidst hills and closer to Mussoorie, and this is a valley. It has its own charm, because of which I think the creativity is part and parcel, of your upbringing, right? Of when you grow.
Right.
So I would say that Arvind Parashar is a guy next door who is fond of writing books, who is fond of painting oil on canvas, fond of traveling. I love photography. I love speaking, and I love. I'm also associated with charitable causes.
Amazing.
In case you didn't know, Messed Up All for Love, all the profits went to Spandana Rehabilitation Center in Udupi. So that's what Arvind is, and I'm just waiting for a lot of travel restrictions to get lifted, and they've started happening.
Okay.
So that I can travel again, and lived in various cities within India as well as outside of India.
Okay.
And somewhere it is reflected in my novels when I write them. So that's what Arvind is.
Arvind Parashar. Okay, so in a nutshell, you are a multitasker person, right?
Yeah.
A lot of personality.
Multi-talented is what people call. I would say that all of us have talents. It's just that I try to use those hobbies or talents that I have and share it with the world. That's the only difference between people who have talents but keep it to themselves. But I believe in sharing it with the world. That's why we see books and paintings.
Wow, it's a good thing. A lot of people, a world need you. You like this people, like who you are. Actually, we need these kind of people. So start with the interview. My first question to you. So this is your introduction. So we would like to know your book. So what's the story? How do you come up with the story concept? Your book is a very heart-rending love story of Kabir and Noosh. So tell me something about your book.
Well, I'll give a little background to this book, which is Not Without Your Love. This is a story which happened many years ago, like 6 years ago to be precise, which is more than half a decade. The story struck me when I was sleeping. It was New Year's, 1st January 2015.
Okay.
And, I started imagining, I had come back from a New Year's party. And of course, New Year's Eve, and so you sleep late, right? When you celebrate. So I slept quite late. I think I was in half sleep. Then I imagined this person who's wearing this army uniform, and he's fighting in a foreign land, and he's an Indian, and he's trying to save people. And there's a lot of foreigners that I saw, that is when the whole concept took place, right? Of an Indian army guy on a foreign soil who would try to save people. That's how that started. The difference is, oftentimes we dream, right? And then we forget about it, or we move on, and we take dream as a dream. And since I've been writing from my childhood, I've been writing short stories, I've been writing poems, and writing a book was definitely on cards. It was something which I've been planning to do for a long time, but because of my corporate schedules. I was traveling and working, and so I was not able to get time. But 1st January 2015 is the date to be noted. I got up from my light sleep and opened my laptop, and
Okay.
that is when I started writing Not Without Your Love.
Wow.
So it started with that, and the initial original storyline was different. But then,
Okay.
I started working on it. Obviously, you have to bring in a lot of characters, things like that. Uh, you know, Several years ago, I think about 10, 15 years ago, I met an old couple
Okay.
in Udaipur, okay, and they were from Afghanistan, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and they shared. It was just chance encounter when I was in Udaipur. I think it was 2005 or six. You can imagine how long I'm talking about. And they said that they fled Afghanistan in early 80s or late 70s when the Cold War was happening. And they came to
Okay.
Pakistan in an oil tank. Uh,
Okay.
and they would have died. And they said a lot of people, that's how they fled Afghanistan. They came through Pakistan border, entered India during those times. So what happened was I just tried to build that connection.
Okay.
The only difference was that this was an Afghani couple who I just met, and that was it. So when I dreamt of this Kabir, right? When I later named him Kabir,
Okay.
I felt that yes, he's an Indian who was
Hmm.
probably in Afghanistan in 70s. How I tried to connect these two stories. No, she's a Persian girl. She's
Okay.
born in Afghanistan, and they're studying in Russia. In
Okay.
70s and 80s, many years ago, right? A lot of Indians used to go to USSR when it was not broken. When
Hmm.
USSR was united to study, especially to study engineering and medicine. So a lot
Okay.
of Indians used to go. So I used that as a theme
Wow.
and a concept, and said that so this is Kabir who's gone to Russia to study, pursue engineering, but he wanted to become a journalist like you are.
Hmm.
Okay? And he wanted to become a journalist, so he studied, and then there was a Russian professor who kind of taught him. So I will not obviously spill the beans, but I will quickly tell you the storyline, that how it started. So because it was very difficult, and he loved a girl who was from Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
And he had to be united with her because she went back to Afghanistan after education, and they had a love story. He said,
Hmm.
I've got a lot of work to do in Afghanistan. You finish and you come back. And you come to Afghanistan, we'll get married, right?
Right.
But at that time, there was no war, there was no Cold War. Then, when Kabir finished his education, he
Hmm.
went to Afghanistan, but he knew Pashto as a language. Then he was used as a spy, because that if he can become a spy, and he can, that is the only way he could enter Afghanistan.
Right.
That's
Okay.
the card he played. His professor helped him. He came to Afghanistan, but he was a covert spy. And then rest is history. So then war started. A lot of things started. A lot of things happened. There was a lot of suspense and mystery. There's a lot of plotting in the. There's a KGB angle. There is a Cold War angle. There's a US angle. And what role did Kabir play? So that is the story.
That is just a normal cornucopia story.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful. I think I don't know what Kabir and Noosh will gonna be together at the end. So for this, we need to read this book, and I hope that your book, I think it is bestseller right now, and you are getting a lot of good reviews. So thank you, and it's a wonderful story that how you just written your story in connecting all the dots, and just you picked up like little piece of the multiple stories. So it's amazing.
Right. Thank you.
So, you choose to be an author while having a corporate job. What influenced you the most to pursue the career as a writer?
Well, like I touched upon earlier also, in my growing years, I had a huge influence of Ruskin Bond.
Okay.
And Ruskin Bond he lives in Missouri, right?
Yeah. So
And,
you feel some connection with them.
yes, yes, of course. As in our childhood, we met him quite a few times.
Okay.
And when we would go to Missouri, we used to meet him. There's a bookstore in Missouri where he comes, I think, every Friday, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
And he meets his readers and fans. But we were kids, like you can imagine, right? Little kids going there. So he was very fond of kids, and we used to call him Dadu.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it is. So he had a huge influence on a lot of people like me. That was a big boost in my writing career. So when I was growing, I used to write a lot of stories as a child also.
Okay.
A lot of poems used to get published in newspapers and magazines. So, when I grew and I knew I have to be a writer someday, but when was a question, right? When will I be a writer? It is just that, like I told you, the dream had to come to me, right? And I had to wake up to that dream. So when you wake up, it is, it's about whenever you wake up, you can find your calling, right? So I sometimes I look back and feel, maybe right after my schooling, I should have written novels, right? But then this is when it had to happen, right? So it is something which was there in my head for a long time, and this is the timing. It had to happen now, so it happened. So about 6 years ago is when I wrote my first novel.
Okay.
And I've written 6 books.
6 books down. Yeah.
6 books down. One is a poetry book, and the 5 are full-fledged novels. Yeah.
Okay, it's amazing. Thank you. And you just found your right call. So I hope everyone will going to find their right call, just like you did. So I would like to know, ki, apart from Ruskin Bond, what are your favorite authors?
All right, sure. Quite a few of them. Enid Blyton, we used to read Enid Blyton's book, when we were growing up. Sidney Sheldon, Nora Roberts, John Grisham, Jeffrey Archer, Frederick Forsyth, Lee Nesbo. Man, list is endless. There's so many. Jeffrey Archer, of course, Sir Jeffrey Archer.
And I heard of him.
Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway had a huge influence on me, and therefore, because Ernest Hemingway used to spend a lot of time in Cuba, and during that time, my books have an influence of Cuba in it, because of Ernest Hemingway. A huge influence. Ruskin Bond, obviously, I said. So, Room on the Roof, then Bridges of Madison County, then Pelican Brief, Partner, Rain, The Firm, John.
So these are your favorite.
Old Man and the Sea. Yes. I mean, I can't recall, but I have a huge library at home. It's on the first floor, and I've got close to 5,000 books. Yeah. So I've got. Yes, I think I've got everything. I've got all the books that I would love to read, but I haven't read even 1/5 of them, and I hope I'm able to. I try to read at least 25-30 books a year.
35.
No, 25 to 30 books.
25 to 30. Okay.
Because of the schedules that we have, right? Because otherwise, I would love to read. But then I'm also, all readers and writers are fond of collecting books also. I don't know the term, right? So we buy the book and we'll keep it, and we say one day we'll read. We might not.
We will read, but then you will forget. Yeah. Yeah.
Long list of books I have, and obviously, no reader will ever say this is my most favorite book, right? You will always, because
you just can't pick one, right?
You can't pick one. There is the whole, but few that stand out. Certainly, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Then The Bridges of Madison County. I love it. I mean, I love reading these two books. And why I'm saying that is because I'm reading them again. Like, I've read them quite a few times. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand is also there, but it can get depressing at times. It's a huge book. Atlas Shrugged. But that's there in my library as well.
So my question is, people say when you read something like twice, thrice, so you get a different perspective. So have you ever felt this thing that you are getting a different perspective while reading again and again?
You do. Absolutely right. That is the beauty of reading, See, what happens is, and probably I might not have been able to answer this if I had not written it myself. When the whole perspective after becoming a writer has changed for me. The way I watch a film, the way I read a book, everything is changed. Now, when I'm reading something, I immerse into the character deeply. I try to feel that, what would writer be going through when this book was written, which probably was not there earlier, right? Earlier, what happened was, we were a casual reader, right? And when I say casual, I mean, we read it. We'll enjoy the story, and that's about it, right? We might not feel that, hey, you should not. There were times when I wanted a book to never end, because it was so good. But then it ends, end of the day. So, the perspective changes. The view on a character changes. Because then there are various shades, right?
Right.
And try to understand that, hey, what was the writer thinking when this character was being developed, right? So you try to bring your own perspective, and you're right. If I'm reading a book next year, because
Okay.
1 year is a long period, right? If I'm giving a break of 1 year, that is why that is why I said I'm reading it again, because I want to enjoy it again with a different view now, right? Oftentimes it is also your own journey.
Right.
Because if I have read, like, say, 20 books in between, and then I'm reading this book after 5 years again, then I don't remember everything about that book. Obviously, things
Obviously, you forget easily.
forget it. It's not necessarily you'll remember. You will only remember the whole essence. But then because my whole journey has been a learning experience. Yes, maybe I've also evolved as a reader, right? I've also maybe gone mature as a reader. So
Just like writers evolve while writing their multiple books, even reader also evolve
absolutely,
all the time. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So it is all a very, very natural process, because you're also growing, right? So your
Right.
thoughts will change, a lot of things will change. Therefore, that is the reason why the perspective shifts.
Okay. Okay. That's amazing. Wonderful. So, the majority of your books are in a romantic genre. So, do you intend to write a variety of genres in future, like apart from romantic? You're thinking that you are going to write some another genre.
Yes, and if you look at my novels, they're all romantic thrillers, right?
Yeah.
So it's already a combination of two, like a
Yeah.
thriller plus romance. So which means that if I have to write a thriller, well, I can write just a pure thriller, right? I can do that. If I have to write a pure romance, I can do that. So next set of the next set of 5 books that I plan to do, that's already planned. The next 5 stories are already they've already been
Line
developed.
up.
They're lined up. Yeah, next 5 books are already lined up. One of them is a crime thriller, you know,
Okay.
and yes, it's a very interesting concept. Then 2 are patriotic thrillers, if I can say so,
Chaotic. Okay.
and then one is pure romance, because I have not written a pure romance novel ever.
Okay.
So one is a pure love story.
So you have a penchant of romance. You're like more oriented towards romance.
I want to write completely romantic novel. No thriller, nothing. No kidnapping. No murder mystery.
Okay.
So one is certainly going to be pure romance. To your question,
Okay.
one is a complete crime thriller.
Okay.
Then a couple of them are thrillers, pure thrillers, with I would say with history also in it. Some Indian history in it. And then maybe one of them could be a psycho thriller also, psychological thriller. So yeah, it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a mix again.
Are you planning to write some non-fiction or motivational stuff? Because you are a speaker, right? A motivational speaker.
I do. So this was on the fiction side. I do, and it is trust me, it's easy to write a fiction for me than to write a non-fiction, because the subject is so wide.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel, should I write it on corporate? Should I write to motivate? Should I write something to motivate youngsters? But then how do I motivate youngsters? Because what's the latest trend that's going on? What do they need to read, right? So it's such a wide variety that a lot of research needs to be done. So, for me to write a non-fiction, and when I say non-fiction, I mean something to do with corporate. I'm not saying I'm going to write something on our epics or say Maharaja.
Business and stuff. Yeah.
Maybe so something which I can relate to.
Okay.
Something which is easy for me to do. I don't want to just choose a tough topic just for the heck of it. So I'm still in the process of doing little research and say, what is the subject that I really need to choose, which can appeal to my audiences, and especially the youngsters. That's my core audience, right?
Right.
People age of 13 to 30. That's my reading population also.
Okay.
13 onwards is what I have seen a lot of people read my books.
Okay, it's amazing, and I'm having so much connectivity, like talking to you. You are such a lively person. I can see that.
Thanks.
So, since you are a social activist, what changes would you like to see in the education and support for a disabled citizen?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Sorry.
So, you're a social activist, right? So, what changes would you like to see in education and support for the disabled children?
Absolutely. I think I'm associated, like I said earlier, I'm already associated with the cause. And whenever I get an opportunity, I would love to. Whenever we pick a cause, and any cause that we pick, especially for underprivileged or people who need help, and all,
Yeah.
it is important. So you cannot compare one cause with the other, right? So what I
Right.
do is, I do so oftentimes whenever I have given lectures, and I'll come to this, I just want to give a background as to
Okay.
how I think, what I think. So I used to do a lot of lectures, especially with girls' college.
Okay.
I did one at Kota College, and I also did with TISS. There were a lot of girl child. So I felt that it is important from social equality perspective, right, to
Okay.
impart education to women, girls, and all that, right? So because when we say everybody is equal, what is the role we are playing, to ensure that there is no disparity, right? Because I
Right.
still
Right.
think in our parts of society there's a gap, right? There are areas wherein girl education is not really focused on. So that's one. Second, because I was associated with the cause for disability, or specially able people, with Spandana, they
Okay.
were, because where will they reach out for help? What is it? Because it is so difficult for their voice to be heard, right? I believe that first of all, what is important is that we have to really figure out who are the people who really need help, right? Is it really, are we really helping the right set of people in the right direction? That is very, very important.
Okay.
And therefore, you would have seen a lot of times, a lot of celebrities or people who are influential, they have their own, foundations, right?
Right.
Foundations, and the reason is because they themselves want to directly contribute, you know and also what is important is that what are the organizations you're associated with, right? For example, cry, or
Okay.
milap, right, for health and all. It's very important. So the changes I would like to see is for a lot of people to really come together,
Okay.
not just for specially able, for anybody who needs help.
For anybody who is in need of help.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, it's a voice, right?
Voice.
Because they can't be heard, we can be heard. So if I'm doing a live connect on Facebook, I know I can at least reach 100,000 people through that connect. And even if I'm able to influence one or two people, I think the job is done. Even if two of us get together through me, why not? And I really believe in that. So I think anybody who needs help, we should be a voice. If we can be a voice, in whatever ways and means we can contribute, we should not wait for anyone. If I can do something, even if it is 100 rupees, that doesn't matter. Even if it is clothing, that doesn't matter. You know how Goonj started, right? Goonj started, they started collecting blankets, food, clothing, right? Lot of things, even slippers for that matter, right? Water bottles, pure water, because water is a big issue. People
Right.
don't get pure water now.
Don't let pure drinking water.
Pure water, right? So if they're drinking water which is adulterated, right, will cause health issues to them. So I think in any form and manner that we can help, let's do that. It's really important. Well, let's not wait for anyone. And if we can find out somebody in the area that we are living in, why to reach out to anyone? If Dehradun, I have to do something, I can just step out
And do anything.
something. That's about it, right? Even if it is one day in a month, I'm able to do something. Let's do that. So obviously, especially able to get covered when you're thinking wider, right?
So it's a wonderful thought. And actually, we need people like you in our society so that people can grow and people can encourage to do something good.
Right.
So, thank you so much, sir. So my last question to you. So we are just, winding up.
All right, great.
So how have you progressed as an author throughout your career? Like your career, how you grow and what you changes have seen in yourself, the evolution you have as an author.
Sure. First of all, I would say that it's been a beautiful journey for me. It was a lot of hard work. To get a book published is not easy.
Okay.
It is a very, very difficult process. It's like a black box mystery. A lot of times
People don't get to
people are writing.
Publish their book.
Sorry, yeah, they're not able to publish.
Yeah.
They're not able to publish. People have got a lot of stories, right? They have written a lot of stories, but they don't find a publisher. Publishers don't respond, which is fine because, what is it that you can really do? So I also went through that whole struggle. I was in Mumbai. I was sending my work to publishers. I was not hearing back. When I heard back, they said, no, this is not what we are interested in right now. So that's very normal.
Okay.
I believe almost all the authors have gone through this journey. So it's a cliche. So there is nothing, no doubt about it. So the first thing was that can I get my book published? And when I got my book published, that was first stepping stone, and,
Okay.
and that changes everything for you. You become socially responsible. You become, because you suddenly come in public domain, right?
Right.
Or you will be judged for what you're writing. You will be scrutinized. You will get reviews. Initially, I would really get hurt when I used to read a bad review.
Okay, so you still hurt when you read bad review. You still
no, I don't. That's why I have evolved. To your point, how has my journey been? So initially, I would read all the reviews, and I would feel bad that, damn it, I wish I could know who has written my review, because reviews only one way, right? I can go back to the person who has sent a review. It is just one way, and you know how hard it is to get a 5-star review or a 4-star review or a 3-star review, even for that matter. It's very difficult. So, but then there was a learning for me. Then I stopped reading reviews. Okay. Then what I did was, I began to introspect. So whatever reviews were, I said that's an opportunity for me to improve, right?
Right.
Somebody has not loved my book. I have to work on it. And what is the reason why they have not loved my book? So that is where I evolved. I stopped reading reviews, not because I would get.
You're hurting just because.
And I will tell you why. I'll tell you a very interesting fact. Because 5-star reviews can, take you high, and 1-star review will take you down, right?
Right.
So the point is that reviews are supposed to make you improve. So I've read enough reviews in my life now that I know what I need to do. So reviews are not meant for me. Reviews are meant for readers.
Right.
They can read the review, and then they can decide whether they want to read my book or not. So that's the change I got in myself. Okay, because understand one thing: an author will always write what he or she wants to write.
Right.
An author does not write what people want to read. Please remember this, because the story has come to me, right? And the story will belong to me. So I will still write that story. Now, I don't know whether you like it or not, but
it's your own story, right?
It's a story, absolutely. So 80% people will still 80% people have still loved with 5 and 4 stars. So that is what I do look at, and I'm happy with that. That means I'm not doing a horrible job. They become bestsellers. You would have seen my books. They get into Amazon bestsellers, or they get into. But it doesn't make me arrogant. So it keeps me humble and grounded, and I want to do better. So I think my journey is that I still want to write better. I still feel there's a lot of room for learning for me, and it'll take a lot of time. But I don't think I can. I don't think I can ever write a perfect book, right?
Okay.
You'll still have opportunities to improve. But so long as I can write, which can still make you feel that you did not waste your money, I'll be very happy. So as an author, my endeavor is to write something which you don't trash. And if there is some takeaway for you, I'll be very happy. That's what I feel from a reader's perspective. From a writing perspective, yes, I think how I've evolved and how I've progressed is that now I can think of more stories.
Wow. Okay.
Because there's so many characters that I've developed, right, at my end. Be it Kabir and Noosh in Not Without Your Love, or be it Neil, Gauri, Itishri in my previous novel. They have their own set of characters. So that's where I feel I've evolved for better. That means that I can do a better job now in terms of.
You have a very positive writing approach.
Yeah.
And you should have this kind of approach, like having feedbacks and learning more and more. It's
Absolutely.
a good thing.
So that's what I feel. No, yeah. So I think it's a learning opportunity. It will keep progressing as we keep writing more books.
So we are just moving towards at the end of the interview. So I would like to, you wanna share some quote or something with audience?
For sure. I'll just share one quote, and that's not my quote, because my quotes are there on Instagram and Facebook, lots of them.
Okay.
So everybody falls down in life.
Okay.
It is all about how fast you get up. That's the quote, right? So even if whenever you fall down, and I don't have to really explain it, self-explanatory, but the faster we get up, the better it is. Otherwise, we'll be down.
Just falling down.
Yeah. So that's the quote for Saturday.
Thank you so much, sir. Arvind Parashar, thank you so much. We had a great interview, and I will share the links with you once it's live.
Sure. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much, and best wishes to you and Frontlist team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Best wishes to you, and congratulations for your book.